Hi, welcome to Covenant Conversations. My name is Kyle Burkholder. I am so excited for this week's episode. We have Liberty Messer joining us. Liberty works with Black Swamp Young Life. She is actually our wildlife leader here for Bowling Green Middle School. And that means that she has access to our tweens and teens like you wouldn't believe. She has all the insight and access to them, and they tell her things that they don't tell parents. And so what I've asked her to do today is to give us 3 things that our teenagers really secretly want us to know. Things they're not telling you, but ultimately are true. And I think if you're a parent here, this is going to be such an enlightening conversation because so much of it goes against what our teenagers present, and yet offers up incredible opportunities for us to continue to influence, impact, and ultimately steward our children towards the Lord, towards God, towards a biblical worldview. And so I would encourage you to dig in, listen up, and share this because we as parents need more of this than ever before. So with all of that said, let's enjoy the conversation. Welcome to Covenant Conversations. I am Kyle Burkholder, and today I have the great privilege of being joined by Liberty Messer. And I could go on for a long time about Liberty, about how much we love her and all the things she does around here. But I would like to let her tell you about herself because maybe it's different than what I would say. So Liberty, tell the people about yourself. Who are you? Where are you from? What do you do? And let's just start there. So who are you?
My name, like Kyle said, is Liberty Messer. I am from Cincinnati, but I am now, I guess, a townie. I graduated from Bowling Green State University and I majored in special education. And then I ended up using my education degree instead to make a career out of Young Life. So I lead now at Bowling Green Middle School. I've been there for about 4 years. And I'm like 7 months into the Young Life staff thing. So it's great.
So if somebody doesn't know what Young Life is, and this is their first time hearing about it, what is Young Life? What's kind of in the short version? What's the mission? What's the purpose? What do you do? We see you hanging out with kids and loving on kids. But tell us what's Young Life? What do you do there?
Young Life's mission statement, so Young Life to its core, is to introduce adolescents to Christ and help them grow in their faith. So we as leaders and adults go into the world of kids so that we build friendships with them. We try to earn the right to be heard by them. Then we get to introduce them to who Jesus is, to the greatest love story about the God of the universe who loves them. And then if they choose to decide to follow their faith, they get to have us walk alongside them and grow in faith and grow in community.
Okay, you did it. You said it. Now everybody loves you, and that's a good place to start. It is so much fun as a church to partner with Young Life, particularly to partner with Liberty as she leads out in Young Life, to watch the way that they do what she said they just set out to do. It's so much fun to watch our kids get drawn into the person of Christ through their work and through their relationship. So that's the perfect way to segue into the topic of our conversation today. And as I regularly kind of connect with Liberty over all the things she's doing and all the ways that it coincides with our mission and we partner together as a youth ministry, it's a whole thing. I said it would be really interesting for me, not just pastor me, but parent me, to know and to figure out what it is our kids secretly want us to know. And so actually we're titling this 3 things your teenager really secretly wants you to know, because she has access to these kids and they love her as their friend. They're close enough in age and she's cool enough and all the things. They look at me like I'm a dinosaur and an idiot, and they look at her like she's the coolest person on earth. So they tell her all the things they won't tell parents. And so I thought, what a great gift to parents to let Liberty kind of give us the secrets that our children really would love to tell us as teenagers, tweens, and teens. And so, Liberty, do you want to reveal the first thing that our teenagers really secretly want us to know? What's the first thing?
The first thing that your teenagers want you to know is that they just aren't sure. Your teenagers are trying to figure out their perspective of the world and the uniqueness that comes with that. They're trying to figure out who are they, where do they belong, and what do they believe.
Hmm.
Um, and they're navigating this world pulling perspectives from parents, from siblings, from best friends, from teachers, from random kids at school, from other adults in their lives. And then all of that is coming to form their own. So they just aren't sure.
I mean, this is the first bad metaphor of the day. It sounds like a soup. These kids are like all the different inputs are pouring in at this. It's the most complicated their life's ever been, and they have the most different influences they've ever had. And so when you're saying they're not sure, it's jarring for a parent because they come across as being really sure generally of everything. Taylor Swift is the best or she's the worst. And like it does whatever they have an opinion on in this age, they're really passionate about it. It's that age of passion. So how does that work out when you say they're not sure? They're telling us they're sure. Um, how does that connect or how does that align? Are they secretly internally unsure and trying to figure it out and just fronting for us, or how does that work?
Yeah, I think that to their core, they want to be sure. And so if they can put out an outward perspective and show the world that they are sure that Taylor Swift is the best or that she is not the best, then it gives them a place of security. And the thing that's scariest in middle school and high school is to be insecure, and to not feel like you know who you are or that you know where you belong or that you know what you believe. Um, and so a lot of times kids just put on this front and then behind closed doors, they are panicking as they're trying to figure out, am I a Swiftie? Am I not? Do I like reading? Do I not? Because their best friend may, their parent may not, and now they're trying to
Right.
figure out where do they land and what is a safe place to land.
So as much as this is about their beliefs, what you're almost saying is this is about their identity. They're in an identity formation season, and they're. I've once heard it said. You could tell me if this rings true to you, or if you're like, not quite that, but maybe. I've heard it said that our teens and tweens, they are trying on new selves all the time, like new outfits. They look in the mirror and they go, "Is this who I want to be today?" And they actually have to wear it for a season to see if they like it. And so, like you said, they'll switch clothes, they'll switch identities. I'm a sports person. Actually, I don't like the sports person. I'm a music person. I'm a whatever. Does that ring true to you as your experience dealing with and working with teens and tweens?
Absolutely. I get to work specifically with middle schoolers, so I get to hang out with kids as young as sixth grade, and hopefully I get to follow them up through eight, and maybe beyond. And it is so funny getting to watch our sixth graders try to navigate who they are, and then if you could like put their sixth grade selves and their eighth grade selves next to each other, they're totally different because they're trying to figure out. It's the first time in their life too that I think that they're given the opportunity to
Mm.
navigate who I am and to ask questions about what self do I like and what am I comfortable in. Because I think it's the first time that they are starting to gain that sense of independence. And parents are giving them more independence, school is giving them more independence. They're getting to do just different things with their friends that they weren't able to. Things change from play dates to hangouts. And
Mm.
that just makes kids feel like they're growing up. And that's part of trying their different selves on. So it definitely is real.
Hmm. And okay, so then there's an insecurity piece, there's an identity formation piece. Um, Parents, then, if this is what they secretly want us to know, they're really not sure yet. What that would represent is that parents have become unwittingly, I think most parents think their teenagers are holding them back. I think
Mhm.
what you're saying is parents are in one sense the safe testing ground for every new outfit, new identity. They're inviting us into that formation process, even though every action says, leave me alone at times. Is that true? And if that is true, how does a parent wade into that? Because you get invited into those conversations in ways that parents don't. But how would a parent even support that formational process towards the worldview or the biblical ideal? How do we play a role in that without squashing them in the moment? Because they're not sure, but we can be a help or we can probably be a hindrance. So how does all that land on you?
Yeah. Um, it's interesting because I think I have seen both played out. And also like parents, as kids are trying on, I think that parents are also trying on like different forms of themselves as a parent. And so it's interesting getting to watch like as kids change, parent change. And so you guys are simultaneously changing at one time. Um, I think the best advice that I can give to parents that I think gives me the biggest end with kids is that you have to be just extremely patient. And I feel so silly saying that to parents, but I feel like it's really easy at times to really have your kid be like, oh, I like this version of themselves. I don't want them to change. And your kid might just need to realize that they also like that version and that they're more
Mm.
comfortable. But I think it's hard as a parent to watch your kid change, to mess up, to fall down, to try different things that you know are not going to work. Be patient with them and just walk with them in it as they figure out who they want to be, as they're trying to figure out where they fit. And also, I think with being patient with them is being patient with yourself and be patient
Mm.
with yourself because you're trying to change as kids are changing. And I think that if you are being patient, it means that you're trying to be adaptable as well, which is really hard. So
That's
I
really
would
good.
say
I like that.
patience.
And parents are doing that too. Parents are, I hadn't even, never occurred to me. When kids are in that kind of 11 to 16 range, parents are most likely, averages all the things, caveat, parents are most likely in their own transitional phase. And it's a really sneaky one we deal with at the church a lot. That kind of 35 to 45 zone, anywhere in there is a really sneaky transitional phase for parents who are going from raising children to coming alongside little adults. And so
Yeah.
that's helpful. That's super interesting. I love that. So we're going to provide safe space for our kids to even disagree with us, to grow in their own
Mhm.
understanding of the world. Um, our steady ship is helpful for them in their unmoored insecurity. If we're steady and patient, and I think even more than that, unbothered, as you're talking, it's hitting me like if my child comes home with a different opinion on some critical worldview thing that I think is important, allow them to plumb the depths of this disagreement in a safe place. That way I maintain the credibility. Because when you said you earn the right as a young life leader, a wildlife leader, is you earn the right to share the gospel, is you earn the right to live it, speak in their lives. That's something parents take for granted because we're parents, but perhaps even in allowing them to try on these new selves, so to speak, our patience to your advice keeps us in that space of having credibility and having the right to speak into their lives. You think so?
I think so. And I think parents, when kids hit middle school age, I think it hits seventh first. I don't see it as often in our sixth graders, but parents have to also start to earn the right to be heard. And I feel like that's something maybe parents forget and that kids also don't express as they aren't sure, but they're just looking um, that you are going to provide them a safe space to disagree or to challenge or to navigate. Um, yeah, I think that parents to some extent you are going to love them unconditionally and kids know that, but I think they also like want to remember like, oh yeah, mom and dad or guardian wants to earn the right to be heard and they're trying to.
Awesome. There's a separate podcast that could be done by us. I might just point to someone else who's done a great job of it. And as the prefrontal cortex comes online for a little human, all their critical thinking happens, but it's like a baby giraffe in the way they're working through it. And so our ability to walk through them as they figure out how to think critically about the world is super important, which may lead us to our second thing. What is the second thing that my teenager, that your teenager, that someone's teenager really secretly wants them to know?
They want you in their world.
No, I'm
They,
stopping you. No, that's not true. They want me to go away. They want to put AirPods in. They want to close the door. They want to text without my looking over their shoulder. And you're telling me they want me in the world. Explain.
yes. I 100% believe that your teenager wants you in their world. They are going to act like they don't. They're going to put their AirPods in. They're going to walk away. Um, because I think part of them believes that you don't care. Um, not that you don't care about them, but you don't care about their world, their perspective, their new clothing that they're trying on to figure out who they are. Um, so kids just want you to be invested in their world. Figure out who Taylor Swift is and ask them questions about it. If your kid is watching a TikToker, figure out who that
Oh,
TikToker is. Uh, if they're reading a book, learn about the
mm,
book. Maybe read the book yourself. Um, that is the easiest way I think that parents get to earn the right to be heard by kids, and that kids are like going to respond better to parenting at times is when you make an intentional choice to get to know your kid and get to know your kid's interests in your kid's world deeply.
that's wild. We've been dealing with men and women in their late 30s, early 40s who have, um, let's say, their relationship with their parents is eroding, and they will ask me, "How do I maintain a good relationship with my parents in their 60s and 70s?" And almost every time, the answer has to be that the parent is responsible for being interested in what the adult child is interested in, and that's how they stay together. Because the adult child life is a level of busyness that they can't really do more. But if so, like one guy I know, he's really into baseball, and his dad isn't. His dad's into fishing, but the son isn't into fishing, and so it's on the dad, it's on the older, the parent, to get into baseball. It's in son. We need to spend quality time together. Let's go to a baseball game. Dad, you don't like baseball. I like you. And it changes everything. And all of a sudden the relationship blossoms. And we see it in adults, but to see it with adult child relationships is to say, you can't wait too long to start that process. And I love that you said it that way. I have two girls. They are not into the things I would be into. They're all musical. I have no musical ability, and they're dancers, and I cannot dance, and I don't know what anything in ballet is. So my whole world is to relate to them. I have to learn how to get into their world. I need to understand the French terms of ballet. I need to understand why this move is harder than this move. I get to let them make fun of me as I try to do it with them. But that, to your point, is the one place of credibility I get with them. Because otherwise, I'm this alien. In addition to the gender separation, I'm an alien because I like things they could care less about.
Mhm.
But because of that, then we get to have talks about all the other things on Earth because I made time to scale the wall into their world. So I think that's like wildly profound, and it feels really simple, but it also feels super hard as a parent because you're busy and you got 1,000 things going on, and your life's never been more complicated. But as a parent, you got to figure out, what does Mike get into and how do I get into it with them? What are some, like, is there an example from your life? What were you into at 10, 12, 15 that we might be surprised to hear?
Ooh, what was I into? I actually got I wanted to be an athlete. I thought that I had it going for me, and I definitely did not. And it took until that time for me to figure that out. And so that changed. My dad is really into sports. And so when I stepped out of the sports world, that was super confusing for him. And I stepped more into the world. I joined the worship team at my church. And so I started doing things more musical. And he was like, "What is going on? What is this?" Um, and it took him learning the language and trying to figure out what I was into and what I was talking about. And even like knowing your kid, knowing the friends of your kids' names is super important. I remember
Mm.
getting so frustrated when I would repeat a name to my parents, like, "Oh, can I have Libby come over?" And they're like, "Yeah, who is that?" A friend would come in and they ask me who it is. But I think that when you know they're friends, it gives them like validation that you are listening and that you care about their world and the people in their world because they are also trying to learn that they have their own world outside of you guys. So that brings you into their world.
That's really good. And okay, so here's unsolicited advice. I don't know if this is smart, but it's worked for us. Um, for our family, I've found that when I ask my children um, about their friends, they're much more forthcoming with what's going on in their world. So when I say, Brixton, how was your day? It was fine. Brixton, how is Phoebe or Izzy? Or I'd start naming friends. I said, how are they? And then she'll tell me about their drama or their challenges or their problems. And inevitably, because she starts talking, she's going to get into how she responded and then what she's going through and how she, and all of a sudden I have this huge window into her world, and I have to sneak in the side door. I have to come in and ask about friends first. So that's great advice. Knowing the friends' names is a great way to get into your kid's life, because that's what they don't, it's like it's undefended territory. They don't mind talking about their friends because that's
Mhm.
interesting to them, and it's not giving up of themselves, except it's giving up of themselves. So, okay, that's really good. So our kids aren't totally sure. They're trying on new identities. They're trying on new selves. We're supposed to be in that with them, give them a safe space. They want us in their world, even when they try to show us they don't want us in their world. And then third and finally, what's your third thing they really want us to know?
They want you to know that they are watching and listening to you. They they are paying attention to the way that you respond to things, the way that you speak to other people, the way that you react to things in the news, the way that you handle conflict. All of it is something that they are paying attention to. And I think that maybe that gets forgotten, that like even if a kid is quietly in their bedroom, if you're yelling at the TV, they're listening for that response. They're paying attention to that response.
Hmm. That almost feels like a warning to parents who are not, it's not that you want us to be inauthentic. It's you want us to be aware that the influence we had when they were little, we still have, even when they feel like they're checked out, or it feels to us like they're oblivious to what's happening in the house. You're saying they're maybe paying more attention than ever. And maybe back to the first point, part of that response metric that we're going through, part of that is it's also shaping our credibility. It's also shaping our influence. It's all of that included. So it's almost like this one is you telling parents they're still watching. I hear about it all the time. They're paying real close attention.
Hmm. Yeah, they are definitely watching. The best example that I can give is if you have a spouse, they are watching for how you two communicate with each other, whether that is like you are rejoicing together, you're weeping together, or you're arguing. Kids are paying attention to that. And inevitably, what you model is what they are going to do. So if we are modeling conflict as screaming at each other until you can't be in a room, then like that's what kids are doing to their friends, to the people in their life. If we are modeling just like maybe direct patient conflict, where it's talking it out and figuring out the core of the problem, then I think kids are also modeling that. Um, that's just the best example that I think I hear most is as they're figuring out how parents navigate specifically conflict, that's what they're modeling. And I think for boys, if a male guardian or male trusted adult in their life can show vulnerability, then like boys that are teenagers also get to know like, oh yeah, my emotions, I can feel them and they can be a thing, and they get to understand like how to show emotion well in a world that I think is really hard for our teenage boys and men in general to show emotion.
I can affirm that. Okay, that's good. That's good. I'm kind of cycling through my own home life, and I'm thinking about our people in our community. That's powerful. We talk a lot about it in our house, so I'll spill a little bit of our dirty laundry, um, about fighting well together. So um, most people in my generation, kind of that Gen X to millennial generation, parents didn't fight in front of you. They'd go close the door. They'd wait till the kids were out of the house, and then because that's what they were taught. And so we've had to be very intentional to, when we have conflict or disagreement, we've had to be intentional to do it in front of our children, not be afraid of that, to show them what healthy conflict looks like, healthy disagreement, what real forgiveness is, or even in times when it's not gone as biblically as we hoped, it's not gone as well as we hoped, and we didn't do it well. That's actually the best opportunity, because then we get to have the follow up with our kids that says, so the way that dad talked to mom, or the way that mom reacted to dad, or whatever, that wasn't quite what we were aiming for, and here's why. And so I think just the knowledge, like you're saying, just the knowledge that they are watching and listening not only helps us influence through our behavior, but maybe offers a chance for us to be reflective and redirect or maybe come back around to other things that we've experienced and let them. Nothing's more powerful, maybe is what I'm trying to say. Nothing's more powerful to my kids than when one of us, my wife or myself, apologizes to them for our actions, behaviors, or attitudes, because they understand what humility or what accountability looks like in the Christian walk. And all of a sudden they feel permission to do the same, as opposed to being all defensive all the time, which is maybe all of our defaults.
Yeah. And I I think that something that maybe a tip to parents coming from a Gen Z child is our AirPods don't always have something playing. So they are like secretly paying attention at times as well. That if you are trying to talk in hushed voices, I might just slip my AirPods on and go sit in the room and not actually play anything. Little expose the Gen Z a little bit. But yeah, I think that they're always listening and they're always watching. They're watching how you carry yourself in the world, how you navigate people, strangers, people that live in your home, all of the above. They're watching all of that and they're modeling that.
They're still sponges, is what you're saying. And when they're little,
Yes.
we think they're sponges. They're still sponges.
They are sponges.
Okay. Well, then help parents. Maybe this is our chance. Help us understand how to love our sponges better. If I'm a parent listening to this and I realize maybe I've not been exactly crushing it, this has not been my best season, or if I had known some of these things, I would have been doing something different. What is like one, if there's one thing every parent of every kid that you administer to, if there's one thing that every parent could do to improve, be more engaged, whatever, what's one thing every parent could do today that's like, oh, I can do that you think would make a meaningful difference in the lives of these kids?
I have two, but they're in one.
Okay.
And it's going to be ask better questions and remember the answers. I think that,
explain.
Yeah. So I think that parents are really good about like asking, how was your day? Or maybe asking about their friends. But I think that parents, from at least the kids that I hang out with and I've gotten to experience life with, the thing that parents are missing is remembering the answer. So if the kid is telling you about drama with one of their friends, but they are also involved, remembering that and remembering to follow up and ask about it. Because when you remember your kid's world, they want to bring you into it. They feel more open. They feel more safe. And they don't feel like they have to hide that they're listening or that they're watching. It just takes time, too, for that to become more natural. It's something that my mom and I had to learn. Was my mom had to realize that she needed to ask me better questions and then remember the answers. And slowly, she didn't have to ask questions anymore, or at least not as often, because I just became open dialogue with her.
Yeah, you learned that she was already in that space. And so you're saying you would just go to her. She didn't have to come pull it out of you. You'd go to her directly and update her on the latest thing of an ongoing narrative that she's already following.
Yes.
Yeah, that's wild. So here's how I'll translate that for some parents. If you don't often get beyond how was your day or how are your friends, there's still extra work to be done. There's more, I would say it this way, you're not necessarily not doing a good job. There are greater opportunities out there for you to go one step deeper. And I don't have it in front of me. I'd hold it up otherwise so people who watch this on YouTube could see it. But when I sit with people and do pastoral counseling on my couch, I have a little book and I have to anonymize everything and make it so anybody who opened it wouldn't know anything, but I will write notes after they leave. This happened, this person said this is what they're going through, this is the date of this important event in their life, whatever. So the next time they come in to talk to me, just like a clinical psychologist would, I have a notebook of what's going on in their life so I don't forget, because I know life is busy and life is complicated. I will forget some of these details. So even for a parent, there's no shame if you keep a journal or something at writing down some of the details your kid's given you, so that you can remember, then come back to them and re-engage them at a deeper level. And I think that could be it's a really simple solution, but if you're saying what I think you're saying, that could make all the difference.
Yeah, I also think that it would take time for, in our busy world, for both parties to be humans with each other and to actually engage with each other, to want to have conversation, to want to spend time together, besides just sending a text saying, "How was your day?" Have that like face-to-face interaction.
Yeah, family dinners at a dinner table, all the things that were big deal back in the day, still matter. Looking people eye to eye still matters. Being in real proximity to each other still matters. Okay, that's beautiful. So we can re-engage our kids. We can meet them where they're at and help continue to shape them. If I like to give the guest the final word or a last thing. Do you have anything else you would say in summary, or one last thing I don't want to forget, or one more thing I want to make sure everybody hears? Is there one final thing as a final word you'd like to give us?
Yes, I would say be patient with yourself as you are trying to be patient with your kid. It's really hard. It's really, really difficult. I'm not a parent, so I'm not with the kids 24/7, and it can still be hard for me. And so being in the world of kids to the depths that parents are, I can only imagine the amount of patience that it takes. But also, like, at the end of the day, just love your kid and love them for who they are and how they're presenting themselves, whether you agree with that version that they had on today or you're hoping for a better one. Just love them in it, because as you love them graciously, like, they're going to learn that you are a safe person and bring them in.
I love it. I love it. The way for that biblical worldview to get into their souls is for them to feel that biblical love in everything they do. Okay. Well, Liberty, this has been a joy for me. This is fun. I threatened you that if we like this, if this goes well, we're going to do this regularly, because you have so much that you have access to with kids. So we'll tell the audience, stay tuned. This may be the first of many. It may be the only one. We'll find out. But Liberty, if somebody wants to find you, get in touch with you, maybe they have a middle school age kid or high school age kid, and they want to know, how do I get my kid involved? Or can you come and live at my house and parent my kid with me? How do they find you? What's the best way to get in touch with you?
The best way to get in touch with me is probably social media. It's my first and last name, Liberty Messer. Super easy. If you go to Covenant, you can find me at Covenant on Sunday mornings, and I will do a little plug for wildlife. If you have a middle schooler, Monday nights at Covenant, we're here, and I am here with a bunch of other middle school kids that are trying to figure out who Jesus is.
Dozens of feral tweens and teens running around, and it always works out, and they're growing in their faith, and it's super incredible. I don't know how you do it, but we're so grateful for you. Thanks for joining us today. Thanks for all you do around this community. And to those listening, thank you for being a part of this and for joining us. And as always, I hope that today was helpful to you, that is encouraging to you, and that you would take this conversation and keep it going outside of this place. And until then, we'll see you another time. We'll see you next time for our next episode of Covenant Conversations. Have a great day.